Chris Watkins from Your Black World and Financial Juneteenth, and I wanted to take a second to just give a big shout out to Columbia University for making a decision that I think was one of the boldest, most profound, and visionary decisions that I've seen in a while from a major university. Columbia University just announced that they are going to divest from companies that invest in private prisons. In case you don't know, private prisons have created a really warped set of incentives as it pertains to mass incarceration, which is an epidemic that is destroying the country. It is not just racist, but it actually creates more criminals than we've had before. It gives an incentive, a financial incentive to incarcerate people for longer periods of time and to put more people in prison. And in case you don't know, I happen to care about this a lot because as a black man, I've identified the incarceration issue in America to be the leading problem in the United States right now. It is the leading factor when it comes to the destruction of black families, the increase in violence in black communities, extreme poverty levels, and racial inequality when it comes to wealth. All these things are tied together because literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of African American men are either in the system or connected to the system or being pulled into the system. And it just really creates a bad situation that doesn't just affect the black community, but it's going to affect everybody because you can't marginalize such a large group of people and expect that the rest of society is going to remain healthy. So I love Columbia actually. My goddaughter went to Columbia. She was actually a track star, and she got scholarship offers from probably two or three hundred schools because she was the number one high jumper in the world. Or sorry, I said in the world. My bad. In the United States at that time, and it's funny because the high jump wasn't even her best event. She was actually better at other stuff, but she was just that kind of a superwoman. And when she asked me where I thought she should go to school, I said, you know what? I think because she wanted to come to Syracuse where I was teaching at the time, and I said Syracuse isn't bad, but I think if you really want to go to a school that's really going to give you what you want academically and athletically, I think Columbia is the place you want to be. And I didn't know if she was going to listen to me, but she did. She went to Columbia. She had a great 4 years at Columbia, and I really got to know the campus and really gained a degree of respect and appreciation for that school. Now, Columbia, I'd actually had some experience with them. I was actually accepted to Columbia for my PhD program, and I turned them down. I went to another university, but I remember, at that time also looking into the school and just being honored that they accepted me into their program. I just think that it's Columbia to me actually is beginning to stand out when it comes to other all the Ivy League schools because they make bold decisions like this. I'm hopeful that other schools will follow suit. I'm hoping that this is the beginning of something bigger as it pertains to really taking a stand against mass incarceration. Mass incarceration, in case you don't understand this, that is the Holocaust that black people are living through. I speak to Michelle Alexander every now and then. She's the author of the New Jim Crow, and we text back and forth periodically. And I text her and I said, Michelle, do you think that reparations should be paid for the war on drugs and mass incarceration? And she said, absolutely. And so Michelle wrote an article about the topic not too long after that, and I just second that. I'm a finance guy, so money is my thing. I understand how money moves in America, how money affects decisions, and I can just tell you that when you're allowing private corporations to run prisons, you're asking for trouble. You're asking for dehumanizing situations. You're asking for abuse from guards. You're asking for lower quality in terms of the health care, the education, and everything else that occurs when people go to prison. And one thing that we have to get out of is this mindset. And I mentioned this in my article that I wrote on Financial Juneteenth called 27 Ways Black People Have Been Brainwashed Since Birth. One of the things that we've been brainwashed to believe is that every person who goes to prison is bad, unredeemable, and deserves whatever they get. That you know what, you didn't pay your speeding tickets that you received. You got eight of them and you didn't pay them, and you were in contempt of court. You go to jail. You deserve whatever you get. You deserve to be raped. You deserve to be incarcerated for decades if that's what we decide to do with you. You deserve to be miseducated. You deserve to be isolated from your family. You deserve to have your family financially stripped from the expensive phone calls and all the other ways that they nickel and dime you half to death when you're in prison. You don't deserve to get a job for life because you're going to be a felon and you have to check that box. You deserve whatever you get because you broke the law. And I think that that's just a flawed way of thinking. If you want to really pursue justice, I think it's okay to say, look, if you broke the law, if you made a mistake, you owe a debt to society. That debt might include going to prison. But when you go to prison, number one, we're gonna at least try to rehabilitate you so you don't become a worse criminal when you get out. Because if you become a worse criminal, it makes it bad for everybody. Number two, we're gonna remember that you have children at home and loved ones that are depending on you so that your children don't grow up and become prison inmates because they didn't have a father in the house or they didn't have a mother at home. So we're going to get you back to your family when we can, assuming that you pay your debt to society, whatever that debt may be. If you committed a petty crime, then your debt will be small. If you committed a heinous crime, then your debt's going to be a lot bigger, right? I think it's okay to say that going to prison should mean that people deserve to be raped. Prison rape is one of the greatest atrocities that occur in our society right now today. It's unbelievable, and I would argue that it's actually worse, or as at least as bad, maybe worse than regular rape because. In regular rape, you can at least get justice if you go tell the police. They'll go arrest the person who raped you. In prison, that doesn't happen. You don't get justice because nobody cares that you got raped because you're a prison inmate and you're a bad person and you deserve whatever you get, right? And then on top of that, at least when regular sexual assaults happen, you don't have to face your accuser or your attacker anymore. If you avoid the person, you have that option, right? You can go somewhere else and just be away from the person. Well, in prison, if somebody raped you the day before, you're going to see them the next day at breakfast. Then they might rape you again, and then you're going to see them the day after that. And then the final point is that, and again, not to say that regular sexual assault is not bad. We know how horrible it is, and I think that's further accentuates the point. But if you're in a regular sexual assault, it's going to happen usually one time, and then if you get justice and you avoid your attacker, then that you may only have to heal from one bad experience. Well, in prison, your attacker can attack you and victimize you over and over and over and over again. And it makes me think about a story about a brother that I read about recently, and I can't remember. I don't have his name in front of me, but my heart goes out to him because he was incarcerated for something he did not do. The police knew a year later that he was innocent, and they didn't do anything. They didn't go to get him out of jail. I think they incarcerated somebody else. So they had two people incarcerated for the same crime, if I'm not mistaken. He just had a new baby. He spent over, I want to say, 25 to 30 years in prison. And on top of that, while he was in prison, he was raped repeatedly and caught HIV. These are the kinds of nightmares that happen in prison every single day. These are not isolated stories. When you hear about people getting out of prison who didn't do anything, it's not because they were just really unlucky. It's because it happens regularly on a systematic basis. So you have to understand that prisons are the new slavery. That's really what they are. All we have to do, and I could do this to you, if I change the law the right way, I could label you a felon. So all I have to do is label you a felon somehow, some way. And then at that point, the United States Constitution therefore says I have the right to make you into a slave. And I just don't think that that's the kind of country that we want to live in. And I think that that's the kind of thing we have to fight against. And a good way to go after these private prisons is to push institutions to keep divesting, and hopefully other schools will follow suit. I think that young people across the country should take a note that it was the vision and the energy of the Columbia University student body that led to them being able to put the pressure on the administration to divest. So that means students at Harvard and at Stanford and at the University of Kentucky and the University of Texas and all these schools across the country. If you organize in the same way and if you fight in the same way, you can do the exact same thing. Don't let those administrators intimidate you. You go in there, head held high, and you fight for what is right. And so I want to just once again give a shout out to the students at Columbia University. By doing what you did, you probably saved thousands of lives. I'm talking about literally saved thousands of lives. If you don't believe that you're actually saving lives, go look up the story of Khalif Browder, the young man that was sent to Rikers for something he did not do, who eventually committed suicide because what he went through in Rikers during those 3 years where he was an innocent man, a young man, 16, 17 years old. When he went through those experiences, they were so bad that he eventually took his own life. So you are saving lives. So I'm going to say thank you. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I'm gone. Peace.